Today, we're doing something a little different, something a little more personal, something that so many of you have requested. And honestly, it's something that I've been both excited and a tiny bit nervous to record, if I'm being fully honest. Because today I'm not sitting here alone. I am here with my husband, Beryl, who is my rock. He is my safe landing. He is my mirror. And ultimately, he is my greatest teacher. And together we're answering all of the questions that you all have submitted about our relationship. And let me tell you something, you guys did not hold back. You asked all of it. So in this episode, we don't hold back either. We get real, we get honest, we get vulnerable. I share things that I've never said publicly, including some of my weaknesses, the parts of me that felt messy and scared and imperfect, the parts that showed up in our dating period and even in the container of our marriage. So in this episode, we talk about how we actually met. We talk about the moment we knew that we were each other's person. We talk about what our dating period was really like and the challenges that almost took us out. Many of you probably don't know this, but just 2 weeks before our wedding date, and I mean like our venue was booked. Our guests all had flights, the ones who were coming from abroad. Everything was ready to go, and we almost bailed on our own wedding. We almost called it quits. So we talk about in this episode how we navigated our differences and how we continue to navigate those differences, be it spiritual, emotional, logistical. We talk about how we moved from uncertainty into clarity in our dating period, and we also talk about how we keep our marriage alive. What do we do? And one of the questions that I thought was so cute that one of you asked was, who apologizes first? So we answer that. And we talk about how we handle conflict and also how we come back to love again and again. So in this episode, we are pulling back the curtain on the things that couples rarely talk about openly, the insecurities, the patterns, the misunderstandings. And we also go into the laughter and the softness and the partnership and the real love that holds it all together. And so ultimately, my intention for this episode is simple. It is to show you that healthy love is not perfect love. It's conscious love. It's two humans learning and choosing and repairing and growing together. And so if you are dating, if you're calling in partnership, if you're married, or if you're just a human who loves hearing real stories about real relationships, then this one is for you. So let's take a deep breath and settle in, get comfy, and come behind the scenes with us. And if this episode or any of my episodes have resonated with you and touched you in a place that feels really relatable or awakens something in you, then please, please, please go ahead and comment below, like the episode, leave a rating to this podcast, because it really helps the algorithm get this content, get this material out to more people who can really benefit from what is being shared here. So it is a huge compliment to me when you give this podcast a rating. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So without further ado, let's dive into your questions. Let's dive into our story. Let's dive into what real partnership looks like, at least from our perspective, what it looks like when the microphones are turned off. Let's dive in. Becoming a co-creator with the creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity. Because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your #1 source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together. This is exciting. Are you excited?
Of course.
Are you actually, though?
Yes.
You do not like attention.
It's my first time on the podcast.
I know.
Video, at least.
I'm excited. Don't say anything to embarrass me. Do I have your
No promises.
Okay, fine. We're just gonna roll with it. Faith and trust. I got a bunch of questions from you guys, and Beryl and I, want to answer them together. All right, so should we just jump in?
I guess this is live and raw, yeah?
Okay. We're recording. We're not live, but that's okay.
Oh.
It's his first time on the podcast. All right. So first question is, how did you two originally meet, and what were your first impressions of each other? If we tell the whole story.
How did we originally meet? We met through a mutual friend in Jerusalem in 2017. And what were your first impressions of each other?
Well, I think we have to say a little bit more than we met through a mutual friend. That's like, they're like, okay, boring.
You're the storyteller.
Okay, we met through a mutual friend, and then on our first date, everything's going well. The conversation is rolling, and both of us were like really much looking forward to a second date. And then at the end of the night, as Beryl goes to pay the bill, I go to the bathroom, and lo and behold, as the great mystery likes to orchestrate things behind the scenes, Beryl's ex-girlfriend, should we call her?
An ex-girlfriend, sure.
She was at the same restaurant. So she followed me into the bathroom and kind of like cornered me and told me all the reasons why I should not continue dating this man. Did I listen?
You did. But she still ended up with me. Bad choice.
You're a really good salesman. You're a really good salesman. Anyways, all right. In a separate episode, we'll unpack like the full story, because there's lots of synchronistic moments as to like why God was like, no, you two must be together. And now 8 years later, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get why. But no, I did not give you a second chance until God reorchestrated the whole thing. And it was a Friday night, and I'm in shul, and our phones are off because it's Shabbat. And a mutual friend of ours pulls me out of shul. He wasn't there. And she's like, I heard what happened. You have to give him another chance. He's an amazing guy. We've known him for a long time. He's such a mensch. And that whole Friday night, I was like churning. I was like, what does my intuition say? Okay, do I listen to what his ex-girlfriend said? Do I not? Anyways, I tuned in. I was like a strong yes by the end of Shabbat. I messaged him, and I was like, hey, are you available?
And I said, yeah.
And I was like, can we talk? And he was like, when? And I was like, now. And he was like, where? And he was like, over the phone. And I was like, nope, in person. I'm bold. And so we went on a first date again, all over again. And I sat across from him, and it was his Hebrew birthday. And I told him, hi, I'm Ayelet, and I have a proposal. This is a blank slate. Let's get to know each other anew. And thank God we did, because then we dated for 2.5 months, got engaged, and then we're engaged for 2.5 months before we got married. You're way better with numbers.
You're doing great.
I'm doing great. So 5 months. 5 months. Another bold move, but we made it.
And what were our first impressions of each other?
You go first. Well, I remember when I came out the door, you picked me up from my apartment in Jerusalem. And what was the question you said? You asked me a question.
I don't know. I have no idea.
You don't know what I'm thinking?
I don't remember.
You were like, is it too early for me to tell you?
Oh, I think I did say that. A good line. What did I say? Is it too early for me to say you're beautiful or something? Nice. Oh.
And I said, never too early.
Never too early. Yeah. Okay.
So that was his first impression. Mine was, someone had tried to set me up with a different Brian. His English name is Brian. And she showed me a picture of that Brian. And this is a whole story we're not going to unravel now. But so I actually thought he was someone different. than the person I was being set up with. And we hadn't seen each other prior to our first date. And so, me thinking he was somebody else, as soon as I opened the door, the first thing I thought to myself was, whoa, you're way better looking in person than you are online. Gore. So, our first impressions of each other were super superficial. We thought we were good looking.
Important.
But then as the date progressed, what I loved about him, and prior to me even meeting him, I remember one of the best dating decisions I had ever made was making dating for marriage a non-negotiable. And so what I loved about him in our first date was I knew where he was coming from and I knew what his intentions were. And his intentions were how, like, he wanted to raise a family. He wanted to get married. He wanted all the things that I wanted. So we were able to kind of like bypass all of the games and the polarity and the I mean, not the polarity. That's not right. There was polarity, but to bypass kind of some of the nonsense and go straight into what our core values are. That was our first date, right? It's like
we were in.
And then he had the ring hiding in his pocket.
What?
It's like, okay. Who liked who first? Be honest. You totally liked me first.
Sure.
I mean, it wasn't your traditional, like, we met at a party and he was like, oh, she cute, or like, oh, he cute. It wasn't like that. It was like we didn't know each other prior to our first, like, in-person meeting. So I think we both kind of had a little bit of a bubbly feeling when we first saw each other. Okay, I should speak for myself. I had a little bubbly feeling, but I also felt really, like, grounded. Like, I didn't feel nervous on our first date. I felt very in my center, very aligned, but also like, oh, he's cool. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, he's my husband.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think there's some other questions I remember.
Okay, did either of you have resistance in the beginning, and what was the turning point? Yeah. You go.
Yeah. I don't know if there was resistance, but there ended up becoming resistance because we had been dating traditionally religious and we were not touching. And so for us, that was new, as we were also new to religion and this way of dating. And so for us, normally certain things in dating can help maybe the sparks fly a little bit faster or ramp up the emotions a little bit more. And so for us, things felt very aligned on paper, but there was not something beneath the surface that was really intense or super connecting and whatnot. And so that's where we kind of hit a little bit of a road bump.
Yeah, it was wild because it was like everything on paper. Check, 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 check. Like, this makes so much sense. And why does something that makes so much sense and that feels so stable and so safe and so like right, why does it feel a little bit wrong? Meaning there wasn't like this huge explosion. Like, the fire wasn't like, whoa, right? With the butterflies and rainbows and the deep passion that kind of people expect to feel when the sparks are flying like that. It felt very stable. And so
that's important, I think, just to allude to, in that if this is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life, probably should be done from a more emotionally centered, grounded, and way of looking at things a bit more objectively, obviously still with, bringing your emotions into it, but first and foremost, does it make sense?
Yeah, and I think also, I just want to add, I think what made it feel so foreign to me was the fact that prior to meeting you, so much of my dating experience was that, the explosive type of passionate, lustful, right?
All right.
And so this almost felt like too like but there's a reason for that, right? It's like sometimes when it is real, actually what I want to say is, like, if you're feeling a big fire when you're first meeting someone, that fire can burn the relationship. Whereas the way it worked for us is, it's not that there wasn't a fire, but there was a flame. And that flame, we built it together over time. And that is what allowed our relationship to really be sustainable, I would say. But the turning point for us in our relationship was when both of us, when we realized there wasn't such a huge fire, but still we were trying to hold on to something and we didn't know what to do. We both kind of said, you know what, one more date this weekend. And we didn't say it to each other. We said it to ourselves. And we were each thinking, we'll go on this date this Sunday and see how it goes, and maybe it'll be the date where we actually end things. So you went to go speak to Rabbi Dov.
You want the story?
I'm sure they want.
No, I actually decided we'll backtrack for a sec. I decided it wasn't working. And then you guys were doing a retreat together, and I ended up seeing you, and right before Shabbat. And so I told Rabbi, I was like, no, don't break it off. I saw her like in her element, and I was so impressed by you and attracted. I was like, okay, don't break it off with her. I'm giving it one more Hail Mary after this. And
Well, I think you're leaving out some details. I think what
this is our marriage.
Go ahead.
You wanted something different out of this show?
No, you're doing great. You're perfect.
And we had a date, and I said, and I planned this date, and we ended up just sitting really close to each other, and I got really vulnerable, and I said, we are perfect on paper, and like everything makes sense, and we've had a really good time together, and this has been like super. It like works, but something's missing. And I think I got a little teary eyed, and I was like this like longing of like, why isn't there just this piece there where like we're really like drawn to each other, this fire, this spark. And she was like, I feel the exact same way. And it was just this moment, we were by this bonfire, and we had this like really just like intimate, vulnerable moment. And after that was over, we packed up and we started walking back for me to drop her off at her apartment.
No, you freestyle. I love how
that's a different
men's version and women's version.
That's a different
of stories.
date.
You're leaving out all the details.
You wanted a different date.
You started freestyling on that date.
No, there's a different date. 100%. That was in Tel Aviv when I was freestyling. We went to that.
Def not.
100%.
All right, you'll win this one.
Let me finish. This is an important part. And we started walking back from the bonfire. And I was like, something feels different. And she was like, something feels different in me too. And I remember waking up the next morning and I was like, I'm in love with this girl.
So he was in love with you first.
Okay. And I remember seeing Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen at Aish, and he was like, so you're breaking up with her or something? And I was like, no, I'm in love with her. I think I want to marry her. And he was like, oh, okay. That's very different. And I think how I describe it is that, you know, that kind of boring, stable piece of like us doing things in a kind of healthier way it was almost like we were finding out like if things were aligned or not. And once they felt aligned, once that floodgate was able to open, it had this safe container. And that's where like my emotions were able to just like run wild, because it was like, oh, this already makes sense and this works. And so I felt safe to like, it was like the love wasn't wild. Yeah. You know, like all you need is love is not true from the Beatles. If you have love, but the person doesn't want to have kids, and you do, and that's a deal breaker, it won't work. If you want to live in a certain country and they don't, and that's a deal breaker, love isn't going to override that. And so I think there's a logistical piece and a love piece. And because we had the logistics first, then once that was there and that was safe and secure and it made sense, then once the love was able to even have a little pinhole, it just
it just ran. But we cultivated it. We cultivated it from the inside out. We continue to cultivate it all these years. I mean, this many years later, right? And so like the next question is, how did your dating period differ from past relationships? And I think you just answered that question.
You're one step ahead.
Always. It's true. What tests did the relationship go through early on, and how did you navigate them?
I don't think we shared that. You mean the marriage, or?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you want to share?
All of it. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the pretty. There's a lot of pretty too. Look,
we get to share one.
Okay, share one. Go for it. Okay, I was jealous. There we go. I said it. I'm human. Okay, fine. Beryl is such an amazing, sweet, kind, considerate human being, and it is why I fell in love with him. He shows me all the things about men that I had, like all the stories and narratives and experiences that I had had with so many men prior to him. Meeting him kind of has helped me rewrite those narratives, because he is so stable and he is so safe. And so it took me time to trust that, because when you first meet a person, you don't always trust or understand the depths of their sincerity. And Beryl, being someone who really leads with chesed, he leads with kindness. He's very selfless. So, I mean, he'll never say this, but he's very selfless. And he was also very friendly. And that meant that he would be friendly with everyone, including women, super friendly, extra friendly, beyond friendly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And from him, now in hindsight, I know it was coming from a really sincere, caring place. Man, woman, old, young, makes no difference. But for me, it activated a really young, old jealousy wound, right? A wound that at the center and core of it all felt that I could be easily replaced. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say this was when we were engaged, and it actually for us became a pretty big, call it bright orange flag or red flag even. And I remember calling my rabbi and saying, my wife has this jealousy piece and I can't be me. And that was this piece. I didn't want to lose being me. This is who I naturally am. Like, this is what people love about me. I don't want to restrict myself. And thank God I had someone who understands me well and has known me a long time, as well as understand men, as well as what marriage is about, guiding me along the way. And he said, is your wife aware of this piece and committed to growth? And I said, yes. Or your fiance. And I said, yes. And he said, well, he goes, I think there's probably a piece here for you that is some growth for you too.
Yeah, he knew you were over flirting.
And he knew that there was a modesty piece for me to work on as well. But I will say that that was only able to, in the Torah, it says even in a man's first year of marriage, he can't leave to go out to fight in war, which is, if you think, almost like, doesn't make sense. So you can't protect the people, can't protect your wife because you need to stay home with her, and you can't protect her in war. It's a commandment. And so it's the idea that literally the marriage comes first. And something I'll say here, we wanted to go with some provocative things too, but something that I was shared with, we'll call this as a generalization, but typically when a man proposes to a woman, he already trusts her, but a woman yet does not trust a man. And that's what I think the Torah is also alluding to, is that first year is here to help build the trust and build the security. And so that first year, I really spent the time. And in, I think, the secular Western world, it's called for a man being whipped, that he's just doing whatever his wife wants or whatnot. But that first year is important in order to really show up and be there and be solid and be that rock and put your wife first. And then actually, once that stability, that security, and that trust is there, then there is the blessing, the support, and able to go from there. And so that's how we worked in that piece.
That's so good, babe. Hi, Ayelet here. I just wanted to pop in and say I am so excited to officially introduce the Manifestation Method portal, membership, and app. This is your home for all things Kabbalistic manifestation. You'll get access to my monthly live workshops, soul deep hypno activations and attunements, all of our manifestation courses, and our global community of manifestors. And the best part? It's just $26 a month. That's less than a latte a week. Come manifest alongside me and start creating the life you desire and deserve. Head over to ayeletpolonsky.com to join us. What attracted Beryl to Ayelet specifically? What about her feminine energy felt different from women he had dated before?
I think for me, I was attracted to the power in the and the bracha and the blessing in the modesty and in what was sacred. And I think for me that was extremely attractive and is still to me.
What do you mean by that?
Extremely attractive in that you were dressed modestly. You were not someone who just, fooled around everywhere, and you were really solid in who you were. And as I said, you were not flirtatious and other things. So there was something to me that was, I think oftentimes were many times are often attracted to that femme energy that's kind of wild in that way. But I saw a wildness that had a containedness in a way. So.
Aw, I don't think I ever asked you that question. Thanks, babe. Okay.
More wildness has come out. Containing a little too.
Well, a good thing we only dated for 2.5 months.
Yep. Part of the secret.
You didn't see all the pieces. JK. What made Ayelet feel safe choosing a partner like Beryl? Oh my gosh, he was so clear. He was so clear about what he wanted. And it was almost like he wanted it, not more than me, but like kind of, right? Like he was ready and he knew and he was so stable. And not only that, it was like he made me feel like, all right, put the flirtatiousness aside. Like when he was with me, I was the only person in the universe. And he was just so sweet. He'd like cook me dinners, and he knew I loved grapefruit juice. So he lived, what, 15-20 minute walk away from me. So he would fresh squeeze by hand grapefruit juice and then like leave it outside my apartment door and walk away so that I'd see it in the morning, and he'd leave me little notes hidden in places and all these cute things. Like he was paying attention. He was paying attention, and then he showed up and took action. So he was like, I mean, he's a master salesman also.
I still do that stuff all the time.
You do. Those grapefruits downstairs in the kitchen that you've been meaning to squeeze for the last 3 weeks.
The squeeze. I got lazy now, not squeezing by hand. I can't find the piece for the juicer.
It's all right. We're stuck now. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so...
well, can we say, ironically, though, that me being so stable and so... I don't want to say rigid, but like, that I'm so... Oh, you said I was so clear. And like, now still, I'm all about my devotion and only becoming clearer and holding on deeper or anchoring deeper into my relationship with God, my religious practice, my values, etc. And so it also is something that is a challenge in our marriage because she's always like,
let's go to the jungle.
Let's be more flexible here. You're so boring. You're so...
Well, it's interesting because I read in a book once, the thing that you fall in love with the person for is the exact thing that's going to be your tikkun inside the container of marriage. Tikkun meaning like what the marriage comes together in order to correct for our own individual and married soul's evolution, right? Our soul came here to evolve. We evolve to the highest of highs in the container of marriage because it requires another to be our mirror, to show us all the dirt on the mirror that we can't see in ourselves, right? And so like, while for me, it's almost like holding two things simultaneously. I love his stability. I love his desire to have things a certain way. And if it were up to him, we would like... he just daven 3 times a day, which is great. I love his devotion to God. It's what makes him so like, I remember when I see him like daven in the corner with his talit, it's attractive. It is like when seeing a man, right? Men, humans have egos, and seeing a man humble himself before God is like one of the most attractive things in my heart. And so I appreciate that part of him, but I've had to learn how to like really focus, have an ayin tov, and focus on the thing that attracted me to him in the first place, and not allow it to take my female mind too much into illusion and fantasy. Like, what would life be like if we raised our kids in the jungles of South America? Right? Because like in fantasy land, that sounds great, but like actually plot me, my husband, and my kids there, I think I'd go crazy.
You still bring it up about once a month. Probably heard it 75 times in there.
So that's the thing. Like these conversations are ongoing, but the real thing is like we show up. We show up again and again and again, sometimes daily, to have real conversations and work through them. And I don't think that any marriage can succeed if two people are not willing to confront their shadows and have conscious conversations around it.
Yeah, that's why I brought the jungle here to you, bought you all these plants.
It's true. Don't tell them how many plants we have in this house. But those of you who have been to my house, if you know, you know. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We will have to do a part 2. That's a good idea.
If the people want it.
Yeah. Okay. Good idea. What conversations did you have before committing to each other?
I think
all of them.
I don't know. Not all of them, but the big ones.
We spoke
right?
a lot about our families, right? Because we both left America and made Aliyah and moved to Israel. So we weren't able to really meet each other's parents until we were engaged. And so you told me a lot about your family. I told you about mine. We spoke about whether or not we wanted kids. I think we spoke about how long we actually wanted to date for. Right,
I
I
think
think
so.
meaning like not specifically how long, but we definitely said, look, in the past we've dated people for years, each of us, and it was almost like being married without being married. And there's something for us and our core values that just didn't align. And I think something that allowed us to actually get to the chuppah and get married more quickly was the fact that we were clear. We didn't want to just drag things on unnecessarily. So we spoke about we spoke about our strengths, we spoke about our weaknesses, we spoke about whether or not we wanted kids, lifestyle, what kind of home do we want? Like both of us are like we love holding community and supporting community, and we love having open door policies, and we love people. For us, people are our medicine, and we what? No, why not?
Open door policy?
Okay,
I don't know if it's just
okay.
walk
I
in
mean,
any
but
time.
there's a lock on the door.
I don't think that's what open door policy is.
We have a back door too. That one's not always locked. I shouldn't say that publicly.
We like to host, and that for us, for example, that was something we discussed that we wanted to host.
Just
a
kidding.
lot,
Our back door is always locked. Okay, go ahead. We like to.
But yes, we covered a lot of. Yeah, we also came from families that. Yeah, I think things we knew we wanted to adopt that we admired in our families, and we were clear about those things that we wanted to bring to the table.
Yeah,
and we talked about a lot.
A lot.
We still talk.
We still talk
a
about
lot.
a lot.
But we didn't have a problem covering that, and conversation was easy with each other. So we were able to cover a lot of ground too.
Yeah. What's one thing each of you wish you knew before getting married? Well, when we were engaged, I was on a mission to like crack the code to Shalom Bait, like to crack the code to to a happy marriage. Like, what does it actually take? Because I was convinced that after living in India for 6 years and doing all the meditation and all the personal development stuff, I was convinced that like we were going to have zero qualms. I was wrong. So I asked everyone I knew and respected who was older with kids who were older, what is the secret to a happy marriage? And one of the best answers that I got in the moment, I really didn't appreciate it, but now in hindsight, I get it. Was a rabbi from Bat Ain, Daniel Cohn. And I sat across from him and I said, Rabbi, what is the secret? And he looks at me and he says, one word, avodah, which in Hebrew means work. And then he was silent. And I was like, waiting. Like, okay, and work. Okay, work. Yeah, but what else? And he was like, no, work. And now being married for these years and now that we're raising 2 kids, what I come to understand is if we think that marriage is going to solve our problems and fill a void, fill an emptiness, fill a longing for partnership, then you are in for a huge surprise. Right? While marriage does fulfill something and a huge thing, and it's amazing, it is also the hardest work of anything we've ever done. Because we're like, not only are we 2 human beings coming together and needing to live under one roof, but we're 2 different species. He's a man and I'm a woman.
And raising children, so...
Yeah, and so it is a daily choosing each other moment to moment, and the only way we can choose each other and choose love is through a commitment to showing up and doing our own personal separate inner work, right? And then as a result of doing our own personal separate inner work, we're able to have a lot more compassion for each other, respect, honoring, differentiation, like boundaries. Where do I end? Where do you begin? We've been able to heal a lot of the codependent stuff. You're looking at me because you're like, you're the codependent one.
I have my aspects.
Yeah. So I wish we were told 100 times that marriage is work, because then now the fact that we see it's actually work, it's not so scary, because this is what it's about. This is how we grow. This is how we evolve. And it's all by design.
Can I add in a piece? I remember calling my rabbi when I was dating someone, and I said, I have these 3 questions that I think are issues that I want to bring up with you, and why I was considering either proposing to this girl or not. And it was not Ayelet. And I asked my rabbi the questions, and he said, first one, red light, second one, yellow light, third one, green light. Like, first one, for sure an issue, second one, maybe we need to think about, and third one, no issue. And I was like, really? I thought it was literally be the opposite of that. And I remember in that moment, it was like, I have no idea what marriage is really about. And so I think that as well goes with marriage as a whole, in that, thank God, we have a lot of mentors and people who we resource from regarding marriage or different aspects of marriage. And I just don't think it's possible to navigate. It's like trying to navigate a maze, a garden maze, and you're going to keep hitting things and going back and whatnot. And that's going to happen regardless, even if you have tremendous mentors in your life. But to have someone who's kind of done it and been there to help you redirect you or give you a heads up when certain things come, that I feel is of paramount importance. And my father, one of the pieces of advice he gave to me when I graduated college was to get into a business where I could be mentored. That was one of his 3 pieces of advice regarding looking for a business. And I'm like, that is for sure when it comes to marriage, is like, you have to, and you should for your business, you should for your health, probably for everything, but definitely in marriage, that is a place where we're usually not taught it in schools, and if we are, that would be a little risky, or our parents are the model, which can be loaded with lots of things too, and society is obviously not taking on that responsibility. So to be able to make it a priority to pursue people who have healthy marriages and to speak to them as constantly as you can.
Yeah, well said. What's your conflict style, and how did you learn to navigate differences? Well, this is something I think has like really, we've gone through a real healing arc in the course of our marriage so far. And we really handle conflict differently than when we did in our first year of marriage. I remember in our first year of marriage, I can't believe I'm saying this publicly, but we got into this like big fight. It probably lasted like, I want to say 8 hours, but probably like 2 days. And I just so wanted to like resolve it in the moment. So that tells you a lot about my conflict style, or at least what it was that then. I wanted to resolve it, and I wanted to resolve it now. But also like, so anyways, I
Or when you kicked me out of the house?
Oh yeah, I did that too. Oh, I was going to say, before I kicked him out of the house,
you took my computer.
I took your computer because he was going to like just lose himself in his work and avoid the conflict and deal with it, I don't know when. And I was like, we need to take care of this now. And so I took his computer. I locked myself in the other room, and he was banging on the door. He's like, give me my computer. And I was like, if we don't talk about this, then I'm throwing your computer down the balcony.
It got ugly, yeah.
And then finally I came out of that room, and we still got into it. We just didn't know how to communicate. We were not communicating like a team. I wanted you to hear me. You wanted me to hear you. We each wanted to be right. And there was no looking at it through the lens of, well, if he's down, that means I'm down. And if I'm down, that means he's down. I kicked him out of the house. He called my Rebbitzin. He was like, Rebbitzin, I'm on a bench at the bottom of Ben Yehuda in Jerusalem. My wife kicked me out. She calls me. She's like, Ayelet, it's his house just as much as it's yours.
It was wintertime. It was cold.
I know. He's like, you have to let him back in the house. So I did.
Yeah, it was hard.
It was hard. Our conflict style was very different, but thank God, like, it's by design. We've really had to learn I've had to learn how to self-regulate, right? How to really move my feelings through my body to create the sacred alchemy, to transmute the emotion, and to not burden him or make it his responsibility to bring me peace. And that's been a huge piece of our healing arc, I think, is, I remember, last year we got into a little thing, and I was the one who like walked down, and I went to the gym, and you texted me saying, can we chat when you get back? And I was just like, I texted you back, I need some noble space. And it was great because I am now able to feel and be with the waves. And I know that maybe the confrontation when I'm in the wave is not the best time for us to navigate the conflict. But once I'm able to move through that arc and come to a place of self-regulation, then we can have a conversation that is self-led, meaning I'm speaking from my higher self, he's speaking from his higher self, and now we can actually make progress.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this as of recent, and maybe this is what you're alluding to, but for a man, it's a journey to be able to be that like pillar and that buoy where, she's just the waves. And as you are the anchor, to be able to remain still and to sometimes take a lot of hits And that's very hard for a man. And there's typically a lot of wounds there, and there's an ego there, etc. And I've shared with her, I hopefully can show up at times when it just flies off the hinges or it's on the fly and it happens. But in order to help build me up and have a chance, if you can prepare me or say, hey, I want to have this hard conversation, or there's this difficult thing. And yes, when she has come to me and said, this is something I'm really frustrated about or struggling with us, I'm typically more receptive to it. And so I'm in my work in progress, and I try to ask her to.
I'm perfect though.
But she's perfect though. And
just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a question for Beryl. What makes a woman feel safe to commit to?
A woman as a whole, I think that's different for every man in a way. I would say...
No, like what makes it safe? How do you feel safe with me? What is it about me or a woman that makes it safe for you to be in partnership with her? What does it require of the woman?
I'm thinking of like the core values I was looking for in a partner, but I don't know if that's a safety piece. I think there's a piece around not running away and being willing to have hard conversations. I think that feels safe
to you.
Yeah, it's just not, there's just a lot of people who avoid conflict, or that's all they're used to, or all they've witnessed in their parents or in past relationships. And I think your willingness to always meet in those tense places and meet those edges and look at those shadows together, is that to me feels safe, because then it doesn't feel like things are being swept under the rug. And I have a history of sweeping things under the rug with us, you know, and you are much less about that. So that feels safe to me. And I know it doesn't feel safe to you that I do sweep things under the rug at times. So that's why I'm working on that.
You're doing great. And yeah, and if I can add one piece, because I think it was 2 weeks ago, I released an episode titled What Men Really Want and How to Attract a Man. And so can I offer another layer to that, and you can tell me if that feels accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so I think also, like, it's not that men don't want an emotional woman. Right? Like, I feel like an emotional woman awakens something in a man, because a man craves a certain level of like emotional intimacy, but men were never really taught how to express that. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not the big feelings that you're afraid of. It's more when I use those big feelings and I weaponize you for them, and I make it about you, and I wrong you, and you're the source of my pain and suffering. That's what makes a man feel unsafe in that container. But when I'm able to self-regulate, move through the arc of my big feelings, and then come to you from a place of responsibility, ability to respond to my feelings, then you're way more receptive to what I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think that is in an ideal world. I also think that part of a core male wound is that we want to fix things, and we feel responsible for other people's happiness and oftentimes for our partner. And so when we do hear attacks like that, as you said, it does really, and it's weaponized as personal, it cuts. But I think I think there's a responsibility piece for the female there. I also think that's part of the feminine, and that's just oftentimes what happens. And so there's a place there for the masculine to rise and to become embodied in a way where those things do not pierce, because the masculine is whole and is complete and knows that this is its job to be the king and to hold the space, and let the feminine be wild and express what it needs to be. And then that, I think, can help actually regulate the female. Right?
Well said.
If both can take responsibility, that's a good starting point.
Yeah, totally. A question for Ayelet. What helps you stay connected to your feminine energy in the relationship? So I am still learning, because I do have a lot of masculine, but I also have a lot of feminine, and I do have a lot of softness and grace and compassion, but I also have this part of me that's like really fierce and really passionate, and she's a mover and a shaker and a doer. And this is like my year of like reclaiming the feminine in a deeper way. But so what I can say is, I think what's really worked for me to help me come into my feminine is creating spaciousness for pleasure, creating spaciousness for my emotions, and I've been someone who I could easily fill up my calendar with my to-do list. And when I'm feeling turbulence, like emotional turbulence, it is such a safe place for me to go and create. Like my creative portals are so wide open that like I can just go and pour all of that energy into creation, which is great. It's a form of alchemy, but it's not helping me go into the root of what is happening. And the feminine needs space. She needs to be in her pleasure. And me escaping that by putting myself into work is only trapping me more inside of the wounded masculine parts of myself. Right? The wounded masculine is sourced in fear, and fear leads to control, trying to control the situation, which is all held in an idea around scarcity. And so for me, really being able to say, press pause. I did it today. I'd had some big feelings moving through me. So I was going to go do my high intensity workout. And Beryl this morning, he saw me and he's like, why don't you just take a rest day? And for me, a rest day is like a whole day. And so, I rerouted, canceled the workout, came home. I went into ritual. I prayed. I sang. I moved to music. I breathed. I meditated. And I was almost going to cancel actually this recording, but I felt so regulated after that arc of giving myself that time and space to be with my tenderness. And that's what makes me most feminine, is when I'm tender and when I'm honest about my tenderness and not pretending that like, oh, look at me, I can go record a podcast. How cool am I? Right. So yeah, that's real. Okay. Who apologizes first?
Depends.
Definitely Beryl.
Sometimes you apologize.
No, I apologize if I was the one who did something wrong, but 9 out of 10 times you're the one doing something wrong. So
Maybe I look for more apologies and they just don't happen. And in my head, I'm thinking you should be apologizing more. That's actually now what's becoming very apparent. Okay.
Whatever. I think
Yes,
I think the balance is good.
Usually it's me.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But like I said, you're doing more things wrong. So what can I say? Okay. What does leadership look like in your home, spiritually and practically? So this has also been a work in progress because we both want to lead, right? We're both leaders and we both want to lead. And so it's been a real unraveling a lot of my stuff, my wounding around like the man and what he stands for and the woman and what she stands for and the patriarchy and all that stuff. And coming to this place where I think I've gotten a lot more comfortable in handing over the keys to the kingdom and really wanting to hand over the keys to the kingdom and wanting to put Beryl, like to place him on his throne, right? And that doesn't mean that I'm any less the queen of our own little kingdom, right? But our roles are different. And I've had to really learn and unlearn and relearn and unlearn and relearn what that means to surrender. And to trust, that's a big one, to really like trust that Beryl knows what he's doing and knows how to lead and knows where he's taking us and has vision and direction and bigger perspective. And I know that when I do hand over those responsibilities, I lean more and more into my feminine, and then I get to just relax. Oh, someone's taking care of it. Wow, that's awesome. But it requires a real, like letting go of control on my part. Would you say that's accurate?
Sure.
Do you want to add?
No. Work in progress too.
Yeah.
And it constantly it changes.
Yeah. And I think you give me a lot of like leadership roles as well. It's I think a lot of it has to do with each of us knowing the other's like strengths and zone of genius and where we shine and allowing the other to like be in that role. And also we always ask each other, like, who is it more important for? Right? If something feels really important to me and you're like, okay, whatever, it's not that important to me, then you'll hand it over. But if something's like really important to Beryl, then forget it. That's what's happening. Like Beryl is so stable and anchored in his values and in his direction that if he feels like something needs to go a certain way, that's the way it's going. And in that way, I think you've like remained the masculine king. Yeah? Okay. Agreed. How do you stay connected romantically when life is full? Date nights.
It's an aspect. I don't think there's any one. I mean, if someone has something for them that just like works, that's amazing. I think part of me is just feeling it feels like it's like kind of like a trial and error thing in that, like, because life has different waves of different commitments and different stages of different things. So different times require different things. And sometimes vacation is really needed. Sometimes date night is really needed. Sometimes we're busier and it's, I don't know, it's foot massages, I don't know.
But all of these things require some time. And I
Yeah.
think it requires a real paradigm shift. It's not, we are going to create time for each other when we have time. No, it's about prioritizing that time together. And you're right. It's like whatever that looks like for you. The last few weeks, we've been really committed
To date night.
to date night and
Yeah.
visiting like a new restaurant once a week, which has been so fun. But really prioritizing that time and scheduling life around your marriage. Because if the marriage is not strong, the rest of life is going to follow in suit.
And time without logistics. As you always say, logistics is the killer of intimacy. We're trying not to, when we are having whatever it is, that time, intimate time together, that logistics is not on the table.
Okay, we're going to end here, but one of the questions, which I'm just going to leave as a cliffhanger for our next episode so that you stay tuned, is what's one thing the audience would be shocked to know about your relationship?
Until next time.
Until next time. All right, thank you so much for joining us. This was so fun, babe.
I had a really good time.
You did?
I'd come back for a second part. I have to now anyways.
Well, yes, you do. I love you.
I love you too.
All right, there's his alarm. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method Portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.